The Dreamscape Exodus, Book 1. Written and narrated by Tallulah Crawford. Copyright Melanin Menagerie 2026. Now sit back, get comfortable, and let me tell you a story. Chapter 3. The Reckoning Begins. Rachel Goldstein sat at her desk at the Washington Post, staring at her screen with a migraine building behind her eyes. She'd been a political reporter for 15 years, covered 3 election cycles, broken stories that won awards. She knew how to read political moments, spot patterns in data, sense when something fundamental had shifted. And everything about this was fundamentally shifted. Her article was due in 2 hours. The Black Voter Paradox, High Turnout, Zero Protest Presence, and the Economic Withdrawal That's Baffling Economist. 3 months. It had been 3 months since the election, but it felt like a different country already. She'd interviewed dozens of black voters over the past weeks, called them, met them in coffee shops, caught them outside grocery stores and churches. Every conversation followed the same strange script, like they'd all been given the same talking points, except there was no organization coordinating them. That was the weird part. No central movement, no hashtag campaign beyond the hashtag The Dream, no viral video telling people what to say. Just organic unity. Are you concerned about the new administration's policies? She'd ask. Sure, they'd say. Not angry, not afraid, just sure. Will you be attending any protests? Nah. Why not? And then that pause. That specific pause that she'd learned to recognize. The pause of someone choosing their words very carefully, not because they were hiding something, but because they were trying to explain something that didn't have easy words. I'm tired, they'd finally say. Every single time. Not angry tired, not defeated tired, not even exhausted tired, just tired, peaceful tired. Decided tired, the kind of tired that came with a decision made and peace found. Rachel looked at her notes, 3 months of interviews spread across her desk and saved in files. I spent my whole life trying to save this country from itself. I'm done. Keisha Thompson, 34, Maryland. Let them figure it out. They wanted this, let them have it. Marcus Williams, 41, Georgia, now in Ghana. I'm focusing on me and mine now. That's it. Jennifer Washington, 52, Illinois. I realized I was praying more for my enemies than for my own people. That stops now. Pastor David Brown, 58, Texas. My ancestors didn't survive everything they survived for me to kill myself trying to fix something that was designed to break me. Dr. Shanice Mitchell, 45, California. Well, I'm not explaining racism to another white person. I'm done doing free emotional labor. I'm not teaching. I'm not organizing for people who will throw me under the bus the second it's convenient. I'm done. Professor James Anderson, 37, New York. And the kicker, from a woman in her 60s who'd been a civil rights activist since she was a teenager. Honey, I done marched with John Lewis. I got arrested 37 times fighting for this country to treat us right. But you know what I realized? They don't want to treat us right. They never did. So I'm taking my grandbabies and moving to Accra. Let America figure out what America is without us holding it together. Dorothy Hughes, 67, Alabama, departed for Ghana January 15th, 2025. Rachel's colleague, James Chin, rolled his chair over with that look on his face, the one that meant he'd found something big. "You need to see this," he said, turning his laptop towards her. "I've been tracking the federal workforce situation. It's worse than we thought." Rachel leaned in. The spreadsheet was color-coded: red for positions that remained unfilled, yellow for positions filled but understaffed, and green for positions adequately staffed. There was a lot of red. After the initial purge of 78,000 federal positions, they reopened about 40,000 when agencies started falling apart, James explained. That was 6 weeks ago. Want to guess how many they successfully filled? How many? 4,700 out of 40,000. That's 11.75% fill rate. They're offering sign-in bonuses between $15,000 and $35,000 depending on the position. They're waiving certain requirements, they're fast-tracking security clearances, and they're getting crickets. He pulled up another chart. But here's what's really interesting: the demographic breakdown of who's not applying. The chart showed application rates by demographic. White Americans applying at 89% of expected rates. Asian Americans applying at 76% of expected rates. Latino Americans applying at 54% of expected rates. And Black Americans applying at 11% of expected rates. 11%, Rachel repeated. Black Americans made up 18% of the federal workforce pre-purge. Yeah, and they did about 30% of the essential work, James added. The unglamorous stuff that kept things running: data processing, case management, administrative coordination, the ground level work that makes government function. He pulled up another document, this one showing agency by agency breakdowns. Look at this. Look at the Social Security Administration. They lost 4,200 Black employees in the purge. They've reopened 2,800 positions. They filled 83. 83! Wait times for disability claims have gone from 90 days to 180 days. The backlog is enormous. Veteran Affairs? Worse. Lost 3,100 Black employees, mostly nurses and administrative staff. Reopened 1,900 positions. Filled 34. VA hospitals are operating at critical staffing levels. Some have closed entire wings. Department of Education? Lost 2,400 Black employees. Reopened 1,600 positions. Filled 21. Student loan processing has essentially stopped. The FAFSA system is barely functional. Rachel felt her journalistic instincts screaming. This was the story. This was the story. Where did they go? She asked. 40,000 qualified federal workers just disappeared? That's what I've been trying to figure out, James said. He pulled up another file. I've tracked down about 3,000 of them. Here's where they went. The breakdown. 891 started their own businesses. 643 moved to Black-owned companies, usually for lower pay. 512 went into gig economy freelance work. 421 left the country entirely. 298 retired early, some even taking penalties. 187 went back to school, and 48 whereabouts unknown. The ones I could actually talk to all said variations of the same thing. I'm not going back. They showed me I was disposable. I believe them. Jesus, Rachel whispered. There's more, James said grimly. This isn't just federal. I've been pulling data from other sectors. He showed her. Automotive services. Black mechanics, technicians, and service workers down 34% nationally. Wait times for car repairs in major cities up 120%. Several dealerships have closed service departments entirely. Waste management. Black sanitation workers down 41%. Cities reporting service delays and missed pickups. Baltimore, Detroit, and Atlanta have had to hire contractors at 3 times the cost. Public transportation. Black transit workers, drivers, mechanics, administrators down 38%. Service reductions across major metro systems. New York City subway reliability at its lowest point in 15 years. Healthcare. Black nurses, CNAs, medical assistants down 29%. Hospitals in underserved areas operating at critical staffing. ER wait times up 80% in some cities. Education. Black teachers and administrators down 31%. Schools operating with long-term substitutes in 40% of classrooms in some districts. Several rural schools districts have moved to a 4-day weeks due to staffing. The backbone of urban services was disproportionately black, James said, and that backbone is leaving. Rachel stared at the data, her mind racing. But how are they surviving? If they're not working these jobs, if they're taking pay cuts to work at black-owned companies, if they're starting businesses in an uncertain economy, how are they making it work? That's the question everyone in government is asking, James said. Treasury Secretary Morrison asked me the same thing last week. James pulled up social media screenshots, Reddit threads, TikTok compilations. They're doing it differently, he said. Look at this. The screenshot showed Black Americans documenting their economic strategies. At Building Black Wealth. So I left my $65,000 federal job. Now I do 3 things. Freelance consulting, 20 hours a week at $40K a year. Started a meal prep business, $25K a year. And joined a housing cooperative where 6 families bought a multi-unit building together. My housing costs went from $1,800 a month to $600 a month. My income is lower, but my expenses are way lower, and I control my time. I'm actually wealthier now. At Cooperative Economics said, my community started a childcare co-op, 8 families. We each take turns watching all the kids 1 day a week. That's 7 days a month of free childcare. At $200 a week for daycare, we're each saving $1,400 a month. That's $16,800 a year. That's a whole salary just by cooperating. At Skills Trading 101 said, y'all, I'm a mechanic. I fixed the sister's transmission. She's a tax accountant. She did my taxes for 3 years in exchange. No money changed hands. IRS can't tax a barter. We both got $1,500 worth of services for free. That's how we're surviving. That's how we've been surviving. At Black Mutual Aid, our neighborhood has 40 families in a mutual aid network. We pooled $200 a month each. That's $8,000 monthly pool. Each month, one family gets the full amount. That's how my cousin started her catering business. That's how another family paid off medical debt. That's how someone else bought a car. No credit checks, no interest, just community. They're creating a parallel economy, Rachel said slowly. One that doesn't show up in traditional metrics because it's based on cooperation, barter, and community pooling rather than individual wage labor. Exactly, James said. And it's not just Black Americans. Look at this. He showed her similar patterns emerging in Latino communities. Latino federal workers' application rates down 54%. Latino small business creation up 47%. Latino community cooperatives forming at unprecedented rates. Remittances to Latin America up 89%. People sending money to family and considering relocation. The administration's anti-immigrant rhetoric has Latino Americans, even citizens, even multi-generational families spooked, James explained. They're preparing. Some are leaving. Many are pulling back from mainstream participation. Rachel's phone buzzed. A text from her editor. How's the piece coming? Need it in 90 minutes. She looked at the mountain of data, the complexity of what was happening. How could she possibly explain this in one article? I need more time, she muttered. We all do, James said. This story is going to take years to fully understand. We're watching the restructuring of American society in real time. Meanwhile, at the White House, President Donald Carlson was having a very bad morning. It had started well enough. His usual routine of watching Fox News while eating his fast food breakfast, yelling at the TV when they weren't sufficiently supportive, firing off tweets about how great he was doing. But then his chief of staff, Nathaniel Nicholson, walked in with that look. The look that meant bad news. The look that meant the president was about to lose his mind. What? Carlson demanded, not looking away from the TV. Sir, we have a problem with the federal workforce situation. I thought we solved that. We reopened the positions. We're offering bonuses. People should be grateful. Sir, they're not applying. Or rather, one demographic in particular isn't applying. And we need them. Now Carlson looked at him. Which demographic? Nicholson hesitated. He knew how this was going to go. Black Americans, sir. They're not coming back. Carlson's face did that thing it did. The thing where it went through several colors before settling on an angry red. What do you mean they're not coming back? I mean, we've reopened 40,000 positions, offered substantial signing bonuses, and we've had approximately 400 applications from qualified black candidates. That's a 1% response rate, sir. So, hire other people. We're trying, sir, but the issue is that black workers were doing a disproportionate amount of the essential work, the work that keeps agencies functional, and we can't find qualified replacements fast enough. Social Security is backed, the VA is in crisis, the Education Department is barely processing student loans, transportation infrastructure projects are delayed, health services are... I don't want to hear excuses, Carlson shouted. Figure it out. Hire people, any people. Sir, we're trying, but there's a skills gap. Many of the positions require specific expertise, security clearances, institutional knowledge. Then train people. Training takes time, sir, and money. The positions we eliminated included many of the people who did the training. Carlson stood up, pacing, his face getting redder. This is sabotage. They're sabotaging my administration. Sir, with respect, we fired them. They're just not coming back. Well, make them come back. Isn't there something we can do? Make them, sir? We can't force people to apply for jobs. Carlson grabbed his phone and started typing furiously. Nicholson knew what was coming. A tweet storm. Within minutes, the tweets appeared. At POTUS Carlson, so-called qualified workers refusing to serve their country, refusing good-paying jobs with bonuses. Who's paying them to sabotage America? Investigating. At POTUS Carlson, federal jobs going unfilled because some people think they're too good to work. Entitlement at its worst. We'll find real patriots to fill these positions. At POTUS Carlson, certain communities receiving generous offers to return to federal service, refusing. How are they surviving? Who's funding this? Follow the money. Nicholson watched the tweets appear and sighed. This wasn't going to help. This was going to make it worse. The same day, across the country, Keisha was at the grocery store, the black-owned one in her neighborhood, not the big chain, when she saw the president's tweets. The woman in line behind her was reading them aloud to her friend, both of them laughing. He thinks somebody paying us not to work, the woman said, shaking her head. Like we're too stupid to just choose not to work for people who don't respect us. Right, her friend replied. Like we need permission to prioritize ourselves. Keisha smiled but said nothing. She was learning that sometimes the best response was no response. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. Let them investigate. They wouldn't find a conspiracy because there wasn't one. Just millions of individual people making the same choice for the same reason. She paid for her groceries: collard greens, sweet potatoes, black-eyed peas, rice, fresh vegetables from a local black farmers co-op. Everything she needed, all from black businesses. Her money staying in her community. As she walked to her car, her phone buzzed. The family group chat. DeAndre, her brother. Y'all see these tweets? Followed by 3 laughing emojis. Marcus, Morehouse09. Man is big mad that we won't come save him from his own incompetence. Tasha, the cousin. Who's paying them? Like we need to be paid to choose peace. Laughing my ass off. Auntie Shanice. The Lord works in mysterious ways. He gave them exactly what they wanted. Us out of their way. Now they mad about it. Uncle T. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Mama. Y'all be nice now. I'm praying for him. Deandra. Ma, you still praying for them? After everything? Mama. I'm praying he gets exactly what he deserves. Angel emoji. Marcus. Ma! 3 laughy face emojis. That's not praying for him. That's praying on him. Mama. The Lord knows what I mean. Keisha laughed out loud in the parking lot. Even her mother, sweet, church-going, pray for everybody mother, had shifted. She was still praying, but the nature of those prayers had changed. Keisha drove home through her neighborhood, noticing changes everywhere. The corner store that used to be run down was now renovated, black-owned, fresh produce section, community bulletin board. The empty lot where people used to dump trash was now a community garden. Black folks growing food together, sharing the harvest. The old factory building was being converted into a cooperative business space. Black entrepreneurs sharing rent and resources. Her neighborhood was changing, thriving, building. Meanwhile, as she drove past the border into the predominantly white neighborhood nearby, she noticed the opposite. Trash piling up on corners, the sanitation workers were gone, and the remaining crew couldn't keep up. A closed car dealership, service department shut down, not enough mechanics. A school with a 4-day-a-week sign, teacher shortage. A medical clinic with limited hours due to staffing posted on the door. The contrast was stark. March 2025, 4 months post-election. Rachel's article had finally run, and it had exploded, front page above the fold, picked up by every major news outlet, trending on every social media platform. The Great Withdrawal, how Black Americans are quietly restructuring their lives and what it means for America. Her phone hadn't stopped ringing. Interview requests, speaking invitations, book deals, but more than that, tips. People sending her information, data, stories. The picture was getting bigger and more complex. She was compiling it all when James rushed over with his laptop. You need to see this right now. He pulled up a thread on Reddit. Mechanic advice. User, white tech guy 87. I'm a white mechanic. Been in the industry 15 years. My shop is dying. We used to have 6 mechanics, 2 service advisors, 3 techs. Now it's me and 1 other guy. We're booked out 6 weeks. Cars are breaking down because people can't get service. I don't understand. There used to be so many good mechanics. Where did they go? The comments were telling. Half the best mechanics I knew were black. They're gone. Started their own mobile mechanic services or left the industry entirely. Same with my shop. All our black techs left. The ones remaining tell me they're making more money doing mobile repairs, setting their own hours, choosing their own clients. Bro, I used to work with this one black master mechanic, knew everything about every car. He quit last month. I asked him why. He said, tired of customers doubting me because of my skin color, tired of getting paid less than white techs with half my experience, tired of being expected to train new guys who then get promoted over me. He started his own business. Last I heard, he's booked solid, charging premium rates, and has a waiting list. James pulled up another thread, this one from teachers. User, subbing indefinitely. I'm a long-term substitute in Baltimore. I've been long-term subbing for 4 months now because they can't find a permanent teacher for this position. I'm not qualified to teach high school chemistry, but here I am. The students know I'm not qualified. It's a disaster. Where are all the teachers? Comments. They left. My school lost 40% of our black teachers in the last 6 months alone. The district can't replace them. We're using long-term subs and first-year teachers with emergency certifications in positions that need experienced educators. I was one of those teachers. I taught for 12 years and I was good at it. I loved it. But I was tired of being underpaid, disrespected, and expected to solve every social problem while being given no resources. I left. I tutor now, making my own schedule, charging premium rates. I work with black families who value education. I'm happier and making more money. It's the same story in every sector, James said, pulling up more examples. Healthcare forums full of nurses asking where all their colleagues went. Government workers asking why offices are so understaffed. Transportation workers wondering why service has become so unreliable. And look at this, James said, pulling up a different kind of forum. A white nationalist website, one they monitored for research purposes. The thread title, What's Happening? Something Feels Different. Rachel didn't want to read it, but she knew she had to. The comments were unsettling. Anyone else notice how quiet things are? Like the usual chaos in black neighborhoods has just stopped? It's weird. It's too quiet. My city's falling apart. Trash everywhere. Nothing works anymore. But the black part of town I drove through last week, clean streets, people out working in gardens, new businesses opening. What the fuck? They're planning something. This is too organized to be random. All of them pulling back at the same time. That's coordination. My grandfather used to tell me stories about how when they knew their place, they so uppity that now they won't even engage, won't argue, won't fight. They just ignore us like we don't exist. It's infuriating. And then, buried in the thread, something that made Rachel's blood run cold. I've been having the weirdest dreams, nightmares really, about things my ancestors did, things I didn't know about until I looked them up and they were real, things that happened. How did I dream about things I didn't know? It's freaking me out. Dude, me too. I keep dreaming about this lynching that happened in my town in 1923. I didn't even know it happened until I Googled it. How did I dream about in detail before I even knew it happened? Okay, this is going to sound insane, but I think something is hunting us. Not physically, but spiritually. I feel watched all the time now, especially at night. I started sleeping with the lights on. Y'all are crazy, but I've been feeling it too. Like something is wrong. Like we're being judged. I don't like it. Rachel looked at James. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? That they're scared, James said. Yeah, they're scared and they don't even know why. Rachel thought about the hashtag The Dream, about millions of black Americans reporting the same ancestral visitation. She'd written it off as mass hysteria, as social media creating a feedback loop. But what if it was real? What if something had actually shifted? She didn't believe in the supernatural. She was a journalist. She dealt in facts, data, verifiable information. But she couldn't deny what she was seeing. Millions of Black Americans moving in perfect synchronicity despite no central organization. Economic patterns that defied traditional models. A collective withdrawal and rebuilding that seemed almost orchestrated. And now this. White Americans reporting nightmares, feeling watched, being confronted in their dreams with their ancestral sins. There's something else, James said quietly. I've been tracking anomalies. What kind of anomalies? Weather events, disasters. They're happening in very specific places. He pulled up a map of the United States with red dots marking locations. See this dot here? This dot is Grover's Mill, North Carolina. A tornado destroyed a Masonic lodge that turns out was a meeting place for a white supremacist group. Nothing else was touched. This dot here is Mississippi. A flood destroyed a courthouse where they'd been illegally purging Black voters. Just the courthouse. The buildings around it were fine. This dot is Alabama. A sinkhole swallowed a gated community that had been sued multiple times for housing discrimination. Just that community, nothing around it. This dot here is Idaho. A wildfire burned down a compound belonging to a militant group. Just the compound. More dots, more precise destructions. James, Rachel said slowly, what are you saying? I'm saying that either we're experiencing a statistically impossible cluster of coincidental weather events targeting sites of documented racism, or, he paused, or something else is happening. Something I don't have a rational explanation for. Rachel stared at the map. As a journalist, she couldn't print this. It was too far-fetched, too supernatural, But as a human being, looking at the data, she couldn't deny the pattern. Something was happening. Something bigger than politics or economics or social movements. Something that felt ancient and powerful and unstoppable. We need to keep tracking this, she said finally. Document everything. And Rachel? Yeah? Maybe it's time to take #TheDream seriously. That night, the Dreamscape. Keisha returned to the Dreamscape that night, as she had every night for 4 months. But tonight felt different. The space had changed. Where before it had been formless starlight, now it was becoming something more. Architecture was forming. Buildings that looked both African and futuristic. Structures that defied physics but felt right. Gardens growing impossible plants. Water flowing upwards. Light coming from everywhere and nowhere. The ancestors were there as always, but they looked satisfied, pleased. The old woman approached Keisha with that smile, the one that contained multitudes. You're wondering why this place is changing, she said. Yes, Keisha admitted. Because you are building it, the old woman said. All of you. Every time you come here, you add to it. Your collective imagination, your collective hope, your collective power, it's creating this space. This is becoming what your people need it to be. A refuge, Keisha said. More than that, the old woman corrected. A headquarters, a planning space, a place where you can coordinate without being watched, without being monitored, without being infiltrated. This space exists beyond their reach. Keisha looked at the millions gathered. She recognized faces now. People she'd never met in waking life, but knew intimately here. They nodded to her, smiled, waved. She was one of them. They were one. How long will this last? Keisha asked. How long will we be called here? Called? The old woman laughed. Baby, this was never about being called. This space is always here, always open. You can come whenever you need to. Whenever you need guidance, need community, need rest, this is yours now, all of yours. But the unity, the coordination, that's not coming from being forced here, the old woman interrupted gently. That's coming from you all choosing the same thing, choosing yourselves, choosing peace, choosing to stop holding up a system that hates you. That unity is real. It's voluntary. It's powerful because it's chosen. She looked at Keisha with those ancient eyes. You're wondering what happens next? Yes. What happens next is that you keep doing what you're doing. Living, building, creating, protecting your people, loving your people, investing in your people. And those who hate? The old woman's smile turned sharp. We're handling them. As if on cue, Keisha noticed something new in the dreamscape, a section she hadn't seen before. She walked towards it and gasped. It was like a viewing screen, but three-dimensional, immersive. She could see into other dreams. White Americans tossing and turning, nightmare visions playing out. She saw a man dreaming of a lynching his grandfather participated in, seeing it from the victim's perspective, feeling the terror, the pain, the injustice. She saw a woman dreaming of her great-great-grandmother poisoning a black wet nurse who had dared to speak back, watching that woman die, feeling the guilt, unable to wake. She saw young white men dreaming of every racial slur they'd ever said, every joke they'd laughed at, every time they'd clutched their wallet or crossed the street, seeing themselves through black eyes, feeling the accumulation of small violences. You're haunting them, Keisha whispered. We're educating them, the old woman corrected. They won't listen when you talk. They won't learn from your pain. So they're learning from their own, from their ancestors' sins, from the weight of the blood on their family trees. Will it work? For some, the old woman said. Some will wake up and change, will repent, will do better. Those ones we'll leave alone. But the others, her smile was cold now. The ones who wake up and decide they were right to hate, who double down on their prejudice, who learn nothing. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Keisha understood. The cosmic scales were balancing, and those who refuse to change will be dealt with by forces far beyond her understanding. April 2025, 5 months post-election. President Carlson was having another bad day. Actually, he was having a bad month. Hell, a bad presidency so far. The press was destroying him. His approval ratings were in free fall. His own party was starting to fracture, the different factions fighting each other publicly, making him look weak. The MAWA coalition, the Make America Wonderful Again, which he had renamed the American Restoration Movement to sound more professional, was splintering. The Christian Nationalists wanted one thing. The fiscal conservatives wanted another. The white nationalists wanted something else entirely. And they were all fighting with each other on social media, on cable news, in ways that made them all look ridiculous. And then there were the nightmares. He didn't like to admit it, even to himself, but he'd been having them. Strange, vivid dreams where he was confronted by people, black people from different eras, showing him things, making him feel things. He'd wake up sweating, heart racing, convinced someone was in the room with him. He'd even started sleeping with the TV on. The light and noise helped. He'd never tell anyone. But he knew he wasn't the only one. His chief of staff had mentioned sleeping badly. His senior advisor looked exhausted all the time. Even his most loyal supporters were posting weird things on social media about bad dreams and feeling watched. It was like the whole white nationalist movement was having a collective nervous breakdown. But he couldn't think about that now. He had a press conference. He walked to the podium, his practiced smile in place, his speech prepared. Be presidential, be conciliatory. That's what his advisors had told him. My fellow Americans, he began, reading from the teleprompter. I want to address the concerns that have been raised about the federal workforce and the changes we've implemented. I want to be clear. My door is open. My administration is open. We welcome all qualified Americans who want to serve their country. He paused for effect. To the Black community specifically, I want to say, I hear you. I see you. You are valued. You are needed. And I'm committed to ensuring that everyone, regardless of race, has a seat at the table in this administration. The prepared remarks continued. Promises of task forces, listening sessions, policy reviews, all the things his advisor said he needed to say. The press asked questions. He answered them professionally, staying on message, resisting the urge to lash out. It was the most presidential he'd been since taking office. The press conference ended. He walked back to the Oval Office feeling good. He'd done it. He'd been presidential. Then he got back to his phone and his true nature emerged. Within an hour, the tweet started. At POTUS Carlson, had to do that press conference. Advisors' insistence. But between you and me, we don't need people who don't want to be here. Plenty of real Americans ready to serve. At POTUS Carlson, offering jobs with huge bonuses and people still refusing? That's not about money. That's about arrogance, thinking they're too good to serve. At POTUS Carlson, some communities getting everything handed to them and still complaining while real Americans struggle. When does it end? At POTUS Carlson, maybe it's good that certain people are self-deporting. We don't need them anyway. America will be more wonderful without people who hate America. The tweets contradicted everything he just said at the press conference. His staff scrambled to do damage control. His advisors despaired. And across the country, Black Americans saw the tweets and laughed because they'd known all along. The public statements meant nothing. The tweets revealed the truth. He didn't want them. He didn't value them. He didn't even see them as human. And they were absolutely fine with that because they didn't want him either, didn't need him either, and didn't require his validation to know their worth. They just kept building, kept creating, kept choosing themselves, and watched as the country that took them for granted crumbled a little more each day. Black Americans are surviving by building parallel systems, childcare co-ops, skills trading, housing cooperatives. They're proving you don't need to participate in a broken system to thrive. What systems in your life could be replaced with cooperative alternatives? If this episode make you think differently about economics, faith, or justice, like this video. Subscribe for the next chapter and comment. I want to hear your thoughts on what's happening. In the next episode called The Quiet Revolution, we're diving deep into how Black Americans are maintaining and building while America crumbles. You don't want to miss it.